It's that time again. Welcome to the best webinar in town, HumanWare Live. Let's introduce your host from the windy city of Chicago, currently sheltering in place. Please welcome HumanWare's brand ambassador of blindness products, Peter Tusick. And from all the way across the pond, also sheltering in place, but doing so with everyone's favorite accent, please welcome HumanWare's Braille product manager, Andrew Flattress.
Hey everybody, how's it going, Andrew? How are you?
I'm good. How is everybody else doing?
I hope everyone's awesome. I think it's fascinating that people start raising their hands even before the music plays. Do you think do they have questions that they think of before the content has started? I like that. I like that hands are just floating around. How's it going, everybody? It's Peter Tusick, brand ambassador of blindness products for HumanWare, and I am with, as always, Mr. Andrew Flattress, who
hello everyone,
is here and is our product manager for blindness products. Today we do have a special guest, and we are going to throw it over to Emily Nostro from Bookshare in a few minutes, probably about 25, 35, 38 minutes or so from now. And we're going to be hearing from Emily about basically what Bookshare is, how we can assign books as TVIs to our students. We know that previously we had talked about that with institutional accounts on the Easy Reader Plus application, how I had said you need to assign those books. So we're going to learn how that's done, and then just kind of get a 30,000 foot overview from Emily as to what's going on at Bookshare. Firstly, though, I am going to take control, and what I am going to do is I'm going to talk about some very basic VictorReader stream/trek pieces regarding Bookshare. First, I want to talk about how you connect to Wi-Fi on your unit. Then I'm going to talk us through how we find where to enable our Bookshare accounts. And then I'm going to actually download a book, and we are going to look at navigating it. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to take control here. So let me do that. And we're going to say I want to share my screen here. I'm going to share the sound. And I'm going to mute my speech. All right. Andrew, do you hear that?
Beautiful. Sounds good.
All right. Now, I have muted my speech. What's nice is we have determined some new enhancements in our ability since the last time when I was doing this with a speaker. You will hear my audio coming through directly from my VictorReader product. You will also see what I'm doing on the webcam. Keep in mind, everybody, this is a very, it's not really a webcam that we would think of. It's a document camera. So if the video isn't great, I apologize, but it is not meant to be necessarily showing kind of what I'm showing today. So please bear with me. You should be able to see what I'm doing, and I will make sure it might not be absolutely perfect, but you'll get a sense. Now, I have my VictorReader stream here, and I'm going to switch over to my Trek in a moment, but I want to talk about how we connect our device to Wi-Fi. So when you first turn that stream on, you may be in your offline bookshelf, and you may receive, a notification that you're in your notes bookshelf and so on, like we talked about. You can press 1 to cycle through those bookshelves. If you press that circular button above the number 2, you will move into your online bookshelves. You may receive a notification that airplane mode is on, and you're going to want to turn that off to go into connect to Wi-Fi. To turn that off, so to toggle airplane mode, you can press and hold the button above your number 2 key, that circular button, to turn airplane mode off. So if I do that,
airplane mode on.
Right, toggle that on. If I press and hold that again,
airplane mode off.
We turn airplane mode off. Once airplane mode is off, we can press the number 7 to enter our menus. So again, if we're in the online bookshelves where you will have your internet radio or your podcasts and so on, that is where you are able to turn airplane mode off and now enter the menus with the number 7 key. So I'm going to press the number 7.
New.
Would actually help if I came out of here. All right.
Connected to Wi-Fi.
Now you'll notice that I am connected to Wi-Fi, but if I push 7.
Menu. Wireless. Airplane mode. Off.
All right, we come into the wireless menu. So as soon as we press 7, we are in the wireless menu. We can now move up and down this menu with the 8 key or the 2 key. So if we move down, we will find the option to
Import a network configuration from file.
import a network configuration. This would be dependent on using the VictorReader companion software, which we're not going to talk about.
Scan for available
But
connections.
if I press 8 again, you hear the scan for available connections option. I can press confirm, as we learned on Tuesday. That would be the key to the right of 0, or the pound key, would then search for the active connections around me. The VictorReader Trek and Stream will connect to 2.4 gigahertz networks. They will not connect to 5 gigahertz networks. So again, if you're very techie and you know what that means, please ensure that you're not trying to connect to a 5G network. They will not work. In the future, you never know, on new units or new products. As of these 2 products, they will only work on 2.4 for as long as they exist. All right, this would be, if I press confirm, I would search for my networks and I would press confirm on the network that I want. They would be in a list, right? And I would see that list and I would use up and down until I find the right network, so 2 or 8, and then I would connect. What I'm gonna do though is I wanna show you how to type in information. So this will kind of lead in, how do we enter text on our VictorReader products? How do we type in the numbers or the letters or the @ sign and an email address, or maybe our Wi-Fi network has a unique symbol. And I'm going to show you how to do that. And the way I'll show you is by showing you where to go to add your Bookshare account. So again, if you press that 7 key, every time you push that key, you're moving through a different menu. If I continually push it when I'm in my online bookshelves, I will eventually get to the Bookshare option here, the Bookshare service. So I'm going to press 7.
General.
Here's the general
Cancel
menu.
all current download. Internet radio.
Internet radio.
HumanWare. Podcasts.
Podcasts.
Download NLS Bard.
NLS Bard.
Bookshare.
And Bookshare.
Add Bookshare service.
Now, you hear, again, I pressed 7 until I cycled to this menu. If I want to add my Bookshare service, I would press confirm here, or I will then be prompted with
Enter email address.
the enter email address field on my Bookshare membership.
Peter, sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt you,
Yes.
Peter. Is there any way that we can enlarge your screen? It's at the moment, it's just people are seeing the gallery view, the thumbnail of your screen. Is there any way that you can share your whole image?
I would probably have to stop sharing and turn JAWS back on. I can go through that, but it could really derail what I'm doing. But let me see what's going on. I don't know why I'm in that view. Bear with me if you want to stall and talk about how you. So Andrew, if you want to talk about how do you enter text on a VictorReader product, how do you enter letters, numbers, and so on? And I'll see if I can fix it.
Yes, certainly. Yes. So entering text, there's numerous ways of entering text. That's the perfect view, by the way, Peter. So what you've done there is perfect view. Just to let you know.
I stopped sharing, so.
But it's okay here. We've got you on the full page view. So
do you think if I share again, though, the question is, because I want to get the audio. Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm sharing the Zoom screen. Maybe I have to be focused on my desktop. I don't know.
Users also pin your screen, Peter, and then that way, that is the one that they are focusing on it.
What's that?
It is, they pin Peter's screen, then that is the big spotlight video.
Right, you can always double tap, to bring me into focus, or click on my actual camera to spotlight my video if you're not seeing it. Let me try though. If I share this again.
So just to go through briefly on how you enter text on the VictorReader stream or the Trek at this point, it's very similar to how the old days of old phones like the Nokia. Who remember those kinds of phones instead of the touchscreen phones like iPhones and Android devices. So to enter sort of characters, you would be starting off from the number 2, and so 2 would have the letters A, B, C, followed then by the number 2. So if you wanted to add the letter C, you'd press the number 2 3 times. And it will then repeat the letter that it's entered. And you do that continuously throughout that keyboard. So on the number 3 key, you would have D, E, F, followed then by the number 3, and so on in that alphabetical order. There is an alternative method where you can press and hold on the key, and it will read aloud the letter, and then you can take your finger off the key. So if you do want to change the way that you input your keys at this stage, you can actually go through your settings using the number 7 key And I believe it's under the general settings. Is that correct, Peter?
Yes, yep. If you're on your offline bookshelves under general settings, you can change that text entry method, and I'll talk about that right now. Again, if you want to spotlight my video, you're going to have to click on my video, and you can actually bring that into focus for those of you who are what I will term light dependent out there. You're going to be able to do that. But because I'm just sharing, I'm not sharing the actual screen side of things. You're going to have to bring my thumbnail into focus. Can you hear this, Andrew?
No.
Okay, hold on. I knew that would kind of throw me off.
I mean, share your screen. That's fine, Peter. If you want to share the screen again, because it's important to have the audio come through.
Yeah, it's way more important than the video.
And if anyone wants the larger view, then as Peter said, just enter onto the picture of his camera, and that would come into view.
Cheryl, again, I hear you that you can only see half the image. This is a document camera, so please bear with me. I'll try to back it up, but let me do this. Okay, I'm going to share my screen again so we get the audio.
Speech on demand.
Mute that speech. I will pull this back, but I cannot guarantee that anyone will get a good visual because, again, it's a very, very narrow field camera. Now, what I'm going to do here, I am in the place, if we remember, I am in the spot where I'm able to enter text or enter my email address. At this point, I'm using that numeric keypad as Andrew discussed in terms of entering information. To enter the letter P, for instance, so my email starts with a P because it's Peter, I would press, again, the number 7 one time. And the way I determine that is if you think about starting with the number 2, the letters will each correspond to 3 numbers. So the numbers, will correspond to 3 letters with 2 exceptions. The number 2 stands for ABC, 3 is DEF, 4 is GHI, 5 is JKL, and so on, 6 MNO. Exception being 7 is PQRS, 8 is TUV, and 9 is WXYZ. So again, if I wanted to enter a B, as Andrew said, I would press the number 2 twice, once for A and once for B. And then you will hear a click, and that tells you that the letter has been input into the field. So if I wanted to type my name in here, I'm going to type a P, so 7.
P.
Right? We wait for that click to know it's entered. E would be 3 twice.
E.
Wait for the click. T would be 8 once.
T.
And so on. We get the point. Now, if I want to hear what has been entered into a text field, I can press the fast forward key or the key to the right of my play button, and it will tell me what has been entered thus far into my field.
Pet. P-E-T.
So thus far I've entered P-E-T, pet, right? And I can say, oh, I need to enter E-R and so on. If I want to delete a letter, if I know I've entered, oh, let's just say enter a K.
K.
Right? And I think, oh, shoot. I didn't mean to do that. If I tap my rewind key, so the key to the left of play, I will delete a letter.
K.
And it will delete that, right? If I press and hold that left or rewind key, the key to the left of play, it will clear out my text field. And you will just hear a boop, right? You hear that high-pitched noise, meaning you are cleared out. Again, this is how we enter text. If we need to enter a special character, we can do those with the 0 or the 1 key. If you really need help with a special character, these are in the user guide. There also are resources online that tell you where they are. But for the main ones for an email address, the @ sign is the number 0 4 times. So if I do 0, 0, 0, 0, it says @ right? And then you hear the click. The other ones that are common here, let's get rid of that. The period is the number 1 twice.
Period.
Right? Again, if we want to enter other symbols, they will be dealt with on the number 1 or the number 0 key. Various presses will give you greater thans, less thans, @ signs, spaces, percents, all sorts of things that you might need. The other piece of this is if I want to enter uppercase or lowercase or numbers, I can change the keyboard. So right now we're in just the regular lowercase entry. If I need to enter an uppercase letter, I can push the diamond key. Again, this is when we are entering text. I can push the diamond key.
Uppercase.
And I will hear it says uppercase. So now if I type a letter, that will be an uppercase letter. If I want to put in a number, I can push the diamond key again.
Numeric.
And we hear numeric. So now I can type in 2,
2,
6,
6,
and so on, right? And it will not put in letters. If I push that diamond key again,
Lowercase.
we come back to lowercase. Alternatively, if you don't want to move to numeric, after each letter corresponding to the numbers, you will find that number. And what I mean by that is 2 we know is associated with A, B, C. So if I push 2 3 times, I would get a C. If I push 2 4 times, I would get the number 2.
2,
Right? We hear it say 2. So it's another way to enter numbers. They do exist on the uppercase and lowercase keypads as well. Again, this takes some practice. We know it's like going back to 1999 or 2004 in terms of T9 text entry, but this is how you enter information into the product. So you would put in your username, you would press confirm, put in your password, press confirm, and away you would go to have your Bookshare service enabled. What I'm going to do is I'm going to flip over to my VictorReader Trek, which does have the Bookshare account on it, and I'm going to show you how to search for a book. So I'm going to briefly unplug this. And we're going to switch over to the VictorReader Trek because that is where I already have the account enabled. I didn't want to have to walk through the entire username and password process. Again, you should be able to see this. If you need to, you can double tap on my video and you will get a better view of it. I apologize if it's out of focus. That is just for those of you who are light dependent. Much apologies there, but we're all good. You'll make it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about how we can download a Bookshare book. Now, when I am once I've enabled that service, so once I've pressed the number 7 until I heard, add Bookshare service, I've put in my username and password, I will now have a Bookshare bookshelf on my online services side of things. So as I push the number 1,
Cancelled. 1.
let's get out of here. As I push 1,
Internet radio.
we hear the
2.
bookshelves.
References. 0. NLS Bard. Podcasts. NFB Newsline. Bookshare.
Here's
1.
Bookshare.
Book. 1.
Little Women,
All right, and everyone knows that we used Little Women last time, but we will hear that the bookshelf now exists for Bookshare because I've had it enabled. So I push the number 1 and I will get to Bookshare. Again, that's when I'm on my online bookshelf and I get there by using the key above the number 2. Once it's been enabled, now I have my books here that have been downloaded. If I want to download a new book, I can push my go-to key, right, to quickly jump to, again, go-to being the key, the square key above the number 1,
Search for Bookshare books.
to get to the search for Bookshare books option, and I can press confirm, which is to the right of 0, that pound key,
Title search.
and I will hear the different ways that I can search for Bookshare books. Again, it says title search. If I use my 2 and 8 keys, I will move up and down the different ways I can search for a book.
Author search.
So I'm pressing 8, you hear author search. Maybe I want to type in an author's last name.
Full text search.
Full text search, right? I could type in full text words and things to search for to come up with hits.
Most popular books.
Most popular, right? If I press confirm on most popular, we would see the most popular books downloaded on Bookshare, whatever might be trending.
Most recent books.
Most recent, so that would be what has been added recently to Bookshare. What has Bookshare recently had uploaded to the collection?
Browse by category.
We have category browsing. So again, we can look through all sorts of categories and figure out what it is that we may want to download and browse that way.
Title search.
And then we're back to title search. I am going to search for a book by title. Let's press confirm to activate title search.
Enter text to search.
Little Women,
Now it says
Little space WOMEN.
because that was the last thing I searched for. So that is what's currently in the text field. We know that to clear this field out, if we need to, we press and hold the rewind key. So the key to the left of play clears that out. You hear that high-pitched noise. And now we can type in the search term that we want. I'm going to search for The Giver because that is a book that we're going to look for today. So again, G being the number 4 once.
G,
We're going to wait for the tone telling us that that's been input. I'm going to type in I,
I,
V,
V,
E,
E,
R.
R,
Okay. Now again, to read what was in my text field, I can push that fast forward key or the key to the right of play
Giver, GIVER.
to confirm that that is what's been entered, right? So we can hear that. I'm going to press confirm and search for Giver.
Please wait. Found results. 943.
All right.
Choose a book you wish to download. 1.
The Giver Quartet number 1.
Now-
Lois Lowry.
this will then put you into the search results list, and I can use the 6 key to move forward through these results, much like I use 4 and 6 to move forward through or backward through the books that are on a current bookshelf or podcasts and so on. So if I press 6, I would move to the second book.
2.
The Giver Quartet Omnibus. Giver Quartet. Lois Lowry.
Now what's unique here is if there is a book that, let's say I want to learn more about it or I want to know the synopsis, I can push the number 5 to hear a description of this book. So if I push 5.
Soon to be a major motion picture starring Jeff Bridges, Meryl Streep, Katie Holmes, Taylor Swift, Alexander Skarsgård, and Brenton Thwaites' first ever Lois Lowry single volume collection includes unabridged editions of the Newbery Medal winning The Giver, Gathering Blue, Messenger, and Sun.
All right.
Lois Lowry's groundbreaking dystopian series comes alive in a single portable volume.
I like this.
An affordable addition to the shelves of teen fans and collectors alike.
2.
The Giver Quartet
So again, that
Omnibus.
will give
Giver
us
Quartet. Lois Lowry.
our synopsis. We can use that 5 key to have, a synopsis read. Again, there are many versions of this book. As we hear, there's the quartet. I know there were some sequels. You're going to find the original version here and so on. When we find one that we want to download, let's just download the first one.
1.
The Giver Quartet
I
number
can
1.
press confirm.
Lois Lowry.
So I press confirm, which is the key to the right of 0,
Downloading.
and it will say
Please
downloading.
wait.
This should download very quickly. And what will happen
Please wait.
is we'll get a message once it is done, and it should be
Download
fast.
completed.
There we go.
Choose a book you wish to download.
That the download
1.
has
The
been
Giver
completed.
Quartet number 1. Lois Lowry.
We are still in our search results. If we want to leave these, we can always press, our cancel key or our, to get out of these search results. So if I press the key to the left of 0, our star key, which is cancel,
Enter text to search.
I'll come back into my
Giver.
search field.
Giver.
Maybe I want to search for something else, but if I push cancel again,
Title search.
I'll come back again step by step. So we can do that. Keep that in mind. You can use star or the key to the left of 0 to move back section by section, or I can just push the number 1 to go back to my bookshelf.
Online bookshelves. Bookshare. 2. Books. 2.
The Giver.
All right, and now we hear that the second book here in my list of books, which I can use 4 and 6 to move through, is The Giver. Again, there are many ways to kind of do this. This is just the easiest way to search for books. You could always kind of bring them in other ways. This way it utilizes Wi-Fi, which is very nice, so you don't have to use a PC if you don't want to, but it lets us go and look for them. Now, let's come into a book, and we did this a little bit on Tuesday, on the episode from April 28th, that is, of this week, but we're going to look at how we navigate these, and we'll see a couple of additional options because these are text as opposed to audio books. So I'm going to press confirm or play on the book that I want to read. We're going to read The Giver.
The Giver. Lois Lowry. Notice.
All right, and so on. We can adjust while the book is playing. We can adjust the speed, or the pitch or whatever we have set by tapping the power button on the left side of the device. So remember, I have my power button, which you may be able to see here above the volume keys. If I push that power button, not hold it, but just tap it,
Speed.
you hear speed, and then I can use the volume keys to adjust my speed. If I push it again,
Tone.
tone, right? We can adjust the tone if it were music, think of the treble and so on.
Volume.
And then I have volume. You can also alternate that to do pitch, which again is a menu setting, which we're not going to get into right now, but that could toggle the pitch if you need to increase or decrease the pitch of what is playing back. For right now, we're just going to, we already talked a bit about on Tuesday of this week about how we look through the levels of a book. So the page, the level 1, level 2, level 3, and so on. But what I want to demonstrate here is because I'm reading this book,
This accessible
This
media has
is-
been made.
I'm hitting pause. This is a textbook, right? We hear that it's synthetic speech. It's using synthetic voices. That's how Bookshare books work, right? They're not going to be read by people. But if I hit go to, so the key above the number 1,
Go to page.
I have the go to page option. And depending on how these books are marked up, if I type a number in here, so remember, this will be a numeric entry, so I can type in 23 or something and it would work. This particular book, if you hear that beep, means it does not have page navigation. Sometimes Bookshare books won't, sometimes they will. It really depends on how they've been marked up, and that will kind of, you might want to find a different version. Sometimes there are some duplicates and things like that. which you can certainly look through. Generally speaking, they will have page navigation. Generally speaking, you're able to search for the various, jump right to a specific page. What I can also do, though, above that number 1 key, if I hit go to again,
Go to heading.
we can go to heading just like we learned about on Tuesday.
Search in
But
text.
this is what's very neat here.
MADE.
So we have the search in text feature in these books because they are text books. I can now type in a word to search for. We heard the word made because that's what was focused on when I pressed my pause button. But if I clear this out, so again, press and hold that rewind key, all right, we can type in a word such as, oh, let's type in play, right? So
PLAY.
Y. We hear its input. I press confirm.
Even the children were scolded if they used the term lightly at play, jeering at.
And I will be brought
Play,
to,
jeering at a teammate who missed.
I'm going to press pause to stop that. We'll be brought to those words in the book. So you can do a search for a phrase or a word to find an exact section. If your class starts reading on the part where it says lightly, even use the word lightly or something, right? You could type that in and search for it, much like we saw with Easy Reader Plus on Bookshare. Now, what I can also do, I know it was brought up, and I know Andrew and I had the question about audio bookmarks. On the VictorReader stream, you can do audio bookmarks. And the way you would do that is when you're on that insert bookmark piece that we learned about on Tuesday. When you hear insert bookmark, you can press and hold the record button on the side of your device and record an audio bookmark. That does not exist on the VictorReader Trek. Okay, just want to put that out there because I know it came up, and we were kind of wishy-washy on what our messaging was there. So just wanted to make sure we're on the same page. Again, I could drop my bookmarks in just like I did on Tuesday. If I push that bookmark key,
Go to bookmark.
I can go to a bookmark.
Insert
I can
bookmark.
insert a bookmark.
Start highlight
We have
bookmark.
our highlight bookmark, just like we did all of the things that we did earlier in the previous episode of HumanWare Live. So again, being able to manage these books and work with them over Wi-Fi, it's very straightforward and simple. Lots of us use Bookshare. It's a great tool. I've used it since high school, used it all through college. I use it continuously to this day. We're really glad to have Emily here to talk about Bookshare. It's a very, very useful service. It's free for many of you who are out there listening or listening to this later, can definitely access it in different ways. So very excited to kind of show you how to work with Bookshare books. And I want to, with that, show you how to remove a book as well. So again, I'm going to press my number 1 key to come back to my bookshelf.
1.
Let me get out of the
Canceled.
search field. So I press cancel to get out of that search field. Now I'm going to press 1.
Online bookshelves. Bookshare. 2. Books. 2.
The Giver.
All right, and remember, every time we push 1, we move to the top of our bookshelf. So if I continuously push 1, I would hear all the bookshelves here, like Internet Radio, NLS Bard, if I have that enabled, NFB Newsline, if I have that enabled. Maybe I'm in, accessing CELA or some other libraries, and I might have those enabled depending on the country that I'm in. But when I'm on a bookshelf, if I want to remove a Bookshare book, I'm in this list of books, and so if I press the number 4 key, I'd move left in the list.
1.
Little Women.
To Little Women. If I press number 6 key, I would move right to the second book here.
2.
The Giver.
Now, if I want to remove a book or delete something, we can use the number 3 key. Generally, the 3 keys are action key on the VictorReader stream and Trek. If I press 3,
Delete current book from internal memory.
it will ask me if I want to delete this book. If I press 3 again,
Move current book from internal memory to SD card.
right, it will move this book from my internal memory to my offline or SD card bookshelf.
Delete current
And I
book from
push 3
internal
again, and I
memory.
hear these options. So sometimes you will hear other options. The number 3, when you're on a title of a podcast, when you're on the title of a type of media that you might have on a storage card, you're going to hear some options. You might have cartridges from the National Library Service that you want to move a book to your player, and so on. So that number 3 key is where you would do that. When you get to the option you want, so in this case, delete the book, I can press confirm. So again, to the right of 0, we have our confirm key. I'm going to push it.
The Giver.
Press the confirm key to confirm, or any other key to cancel.
And it's going to delete this book when I press confirm. So it says press confirm to confirm, right? If I press that pound key, it will confirm my action. If I push the 4 key or some other key, it will cancel. But if I press pound,
Book deleted.
book
1.
deleted.
Search
right?
for Bookshare books.
And again, that will be gone. So you can manage those books if you need to, and you can move them or you can delete them. All right, at this point in time, I would like to welcome Emily Nostro from Bookshare, and she's going to talk a little bit about what it is that Bookshare does, and we might even hear from her dog. Her dog's having a fun old time over there, right, Emily? You might be cruising through.
Yes, she is. Yeah, it looks like she's asleep right now, but we're getting a storm down here in South Florida, so she might jump up on my lap.
That's what I'm talking about. We love it. Well, thank you.
So I'm actually going to go ahead and share my screen.
Please do. Let me stop mine.
Yep.
Give me 1 second. Okay, you should be good to go, I think.
Full speech.
Wait, maybe not.
Sure.
There we go. There we go.
There we go. All right. So when Bookshare is an online accessible library for people with print disabilities, which includes visual impairments, blindness, dyslexia, any physical disability that makes it difficult to hold a book. Our collection has over 800,000 titles right now, and we get the majority of our books directly from publishers. So publishers like Penguin Random House, Simon & Schuster, Houghton Mifflin Harcourt, they'll send us the same books that they send over to the Amazon Kindle store to our feeds. And what we do is we take them, we convert them into 5 different formats. We convert them into the Daisy, the Braille, Word. We reconvert it back into EPUB, and we also convert it into audio. We also have a web-based platform called VictorReader that you can read directly on your computer. It's very simple to use. But we have 2 different types of memberships. We have our organizational memberships, which I'm going to show you today, and we also have an individual membership. Our organizational memberships are for schools and institutions serving people with print disabilities. They are absolutely free for students in the United States. If you are located outside of the United States, there might be some resources in your country, like if you're in Canada, there is CELA. If you're in the UK, there's RNIB. And then there's a few different countries that we actually offer free Bookshare memberships to. And you can find those countries on our website. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to log in. I'm logging in as a teacher. In Bookshare world, we call our teachers sponsors. So I'm going to go ahead and log in as my fake teacher. So you log in, the login area is on the top right-hand side of the page, tap twice to get there, and it will bring you either to this browse page, or it'll bring you to an area called My Bookshare that you can navigate through via the headings. Now, My Bookshare will give you a little overview, tell you what's new, give you some blog articles, but this is really where a lot of the action happens. So, all of your students are now known as members. You can find this in the left-hand side of the page underneath in the toolbar, and you can find the section that says members. And this is a really easy way to go ahead and add a student. So you can add a student either at the top of the screen or at the bottom of the screen. There are 2 bars that say add members, and you can add them individually right here. So I'm just going to demo what that's like. I'm going to click, there's a little human that says with a little plus mark, and then if you are using a screen reader, it'll say add member, and I'll just click that. And so I'm going to add a member, and I'm going to go ahead and create this member. And I put in the first name, I put in the last name, I put in the birth date, and he's going to be born in 2010. That would make him probably in 5th grade. I go ahead and I put a username. So the usernames are up to you for your students. They cannot be reused. So if you have a student with a very common name like John Smith, you might need to get a little bit creative. Please write down the students' usernames, and you'll also create a password. When I'm creating students for the first time, I usually use a generic password or use the password that they're using in school. So I'm going to go ahead and create my password. You can add them to a district, and if you don't see the district right there, let's say you're a brand new member on the account, you can just click add new, and you can type in the county or the district, and same goes for the school. I see in the chat there are some questions. Oh, And Miller is actually my middle name, Emily. So you also, we have great names. So qualifying information, you have to check this information. So you'll have to mark the disability type, whether or not it's visual, physical, or learning. So you can, if the student has multiple disabilities, you can click that they have a visual and learning disability. Now over here on the right-hand side of the page, you would click their type of plan, an IEP or a 504. Students do not need to have an IEP or a 504 to qualify for Bookshare, because we're very well aware that there are students in private schools that may be using private service plans, or maybe that the student clearly has a disability, but for whatever reason, they are not labeled within the school district. If the student has an IEP, it gives them access to all of the books in the NIMAC that we have on Bookshare. So if they do have an IEP, make sure to check that. Down at the bottom, below the qualifying information, is the reading preferences. So if your student is primarily downloading in Daisy, it makes sense to leave that. If they primarily download in the BRF or the Word, you can go ahead and switch it right here. There's also an area to set your Braille size and format. So if they are using a refreshable Braille display that is 80 cells wide, you can go ahead and change that so that every time they download a Braille version, it comes in that 80 cell wide format. Same with embossable Braille. If you plan on embossing this, you can switch the settings. We have available in English for UEB and eBay, grades 1 and grades 2. So you can go ahead and customize it for your student if they need it. It's free Bookshare access only available to students. Yes, right now, if you are a student in the United States, it's absolutely free. It does not matter if they're in preschool or if they're in graduate school. It is absolutely free for them. Once they graduate and they're no longer taking any classes, and this includes like a community college class or like, or extended learning, that's when you would go ahead and pay for a Bookshare membership. A Bookshare membership is $50 a year. So if you compare that to the cost of going to the Bookshare and buying 4 new hardcover books, this is actually a much better deal. If you read more than 3 to 4 books a year, Bookshare is worth your time. There's also a lot of different library partners throughout the United States. Like if you're in West Palm Beach, Florida, and you have a print disability, you can go ahead and sign up through your library and get a free membership. Same with New York. If you're interested in learning more about our Bookshare library partnership, let me know in the chat. I'll give you my email and I'll direct you to the right person who can put you in charge or put you in touch with the person at their library. So I'm going to go ahead and click save. I've created my new user, which is Matt Nostro. And I can also do, and it's going to bring me a pop-up window that says assign books to this member now. I'm not going to do this right now because I'm just going to briefly show you the sponsor area, and then we'll go ahead and assign books and assign reading lists. And if you have any questions, just feel free to drop them in chat. Our partnerships are primarily with public libraries, so not school libraries. This is, again, free for all schools in the United States. The libraries that we partner with are public libraries, so these, like if I'm in the city of Miami, so if I go to the Miami Public Library, I could go ahead and get a partnership with them. All right. I'm just gonna go over here to the sponsor area. If you wanna add other teachers, so if you're working with a gen ed teacher, another special ed teacher, you can do the same thing right here. If you click add sponsor, you put in their first, last name, district, title, email, password, make sure to write down those passwords, and phone number. If you don't know the phone number, I recommend just putting in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and it will go ahead and save. You can edit that at any time. Now, if you know that you want to sign up your entire school, or let's say you're working in a school for students with visual impairments and everyone qualifies, or let's say you have the roster of everyone who has an IEP or 504, who has reading accommodations, you can go over here to upload roster, which is in that My Bookshare toolbar on the left-hand side of the page. On this page, you're gonna find the new member sponsor roster template. It's an Excel spreadsheet and you just go ahead and fill out all that information either on the sponsor side for the teachers or the member side for the students, and you upload it on this page as well. It takes about 2 to 4 days for our membership team to go ahead and process it, but it's really a lot easier than creating brand new members one at a time, especially if you're working with large groups of students. But again, it takes 2 to 4 days for us to process. We got to make sure that you're not a bot. I saw some questions in the chat. And one of the questions is, if you convert a student membership into an individual membership before they graduate, does the account continue to be free for that person, or do they have to start paying? That is an excellent question. So students who, students can actually have an organizational account and an individual account. Our organizational accounts, the students that are on those, they have to rely on teachers to assign them books, which I'm going to show you in just a moment. But our students who have individual accounts or the combined organizational and individual account can search for books on their own and download as many as they want. This is really great for our older middle schooler, high school, college, graduate student who are doing research on their own. If you have a really tech-savvy elementary school student who just wants to browse the library and you feel comfortable and confident, you talk that over with their parent or guardian, I recommend adding on the individual account. It's very easy to do, and as long as the student is still a student in the United States, the membership is completely free. So, alternatively, if the student is at a school, they don't have an organizational account, they still need books in an accessible format, they can sign up for an individual account, and it will still be free as long as they're a student in the United States. Okay, and let me go ahead and show you what it's like to assign a book as a teacher. So right now I'm going to go ahead and do the Hunger Games because the prequel of the Hunger Games is coming out, and I know that my students love the movie, so they're going to go ahead and they want to read the book. So I typed in Hunger Games at the top search bar. You can search by title, author, or ISBN at that top search bar. And all you have to do is you can click into the book just like how Peter had demonstrated before. I'm going to just click into it, make sure that it's the right one. This one is Hunger Games, books 1 through 3. I'm going to go ahead and assign it to my students. So I'm actually going to assign it to both my 5th graders. You can filter by grade. You can filter by members right here. And you just click assign. That way when the student, once it's been assigned to the student will have access to the book. Now, over in the top left-hand corner, there's a little column that says Discover, and that shows that this book is in a public reading list. In order to get, so you can click on it and see all the books in that reading list, or if you want to see all of the books in, like all the reading lists that Bookshare has created, we've created over 500, you can go to our browse page. So these will only give you a snapshot. If you want to search all of them, there is a toolbar that says Search All Collections, and you can click on it. I'm going to go ahead and click on it in a different window just to open it up for y'all. And you can see all 565 special collections that we have. So I know that my students are really into, I'm going back to the browse page. I know that my students are really into like the Goosebumps series. So I want to go ahead and click into the popular series. We've got a ton of popular series that you can just easily subscribe them to. And I'm going to go ahead and give them the Goosebumps series. And so I click into it. There's a tilted Wi-Fi button right there. And so I will go ahead and click that, and I will subscribe my members onto it, and I'll add more members. So I'll add Matthew and Alex. And so now they'll have access to all of those books. So I have a few questions in the question and answer. So we have from Mrs. Hortner, I wasn't really aware of the option for an organizational account for the services for the blind and VI. I've always done it individually. Now, students, as if these students have an IEP, you'll just have to edit their profile to make sure that it reflects that they do have an IEP. Then they have access to the NIMAC. And then another question from Nancy. I work with visually impaired adults in the state of Illinois. I don't have a school district. Can I still get signed up for an organizational account with the Bureau of Blind Services? Yes, you can, and email me if you have any trouble. And then Mrs. Hortner, also wondering about how skipping all the copyright info, what is the best way to get a younger student right to the story? And that's usually through the table of contents. So if you click through the table of contents, it will usually show you the chapter breakdown, or it'll have the title if it's like a picture book or a really young reader book. And you go ahead and click that and it skips through all of that copyright information.
Right, and I'll jump into Emily to say that if you're using a product like the Stream or EasyReader Plus, you would navigate by level and you can quickly jump to the beginning of the book, or you can search for that kind of first word in the book using the text search if you're using EasyReader Plus, or if you're using something like a VictorReader Stream or Trek.
Yeah, correct. And if you ever find a book that does not have navigation and it should have navigation, one of the things that you can do, so I'm going to go ahead and demo what you would do. You'd file a book quality report. So let's say we are in the Giver, and we find that the Giver doesn't have navigation. There, in that left-hand column, under the Discover Other Books, there is a section that's called Book Quality. And what you would do is you report a book quality issue, and then I or one of my colleagues will go into the book and actually edit the HTML that's in there and fix the navigation. And most books can be fixed. Sometimes we can't. And we really encourage you guys to do that, because a lot of these books we get directly from the publishers. So we like to have that feedback for the publishers so that when they are creating these ebooks, that they are being created well. And they really like receiving that feedback too. Now, after you assign a book to a student, who owns the book? The student will own the book. And you actually, as a teacher, if you don't have your own membership, you won't be able to open the book or download the book or do really anything with the book. So I'm going to go ahead and log in as a student to show you what that's like. So just how it's like on the web-based platform. I'm going to go ahead and log in as the student that I just created. We're not going to save that password. And so it brings you to his My Bookshare page. Welcome, Matthew Nostro. And then down at the bottom, there's recent books. Those are the books that he has recently read. I just created him. So he has not read anything. Now, in the assigned books, that's going to be the one book that I assigned to him. And the one book that I assigned to him was the Hunger Games trilogies. He has the option to download in all these different formats. There's a drop down. So if he's used to downloading in Daisy, but maybe wants to try out the EPUB or the Word, clicks that download, that drop down, and they can switch it. There's also the button for Read Now, which opens up our web reader, which is a really easy platform to read. Now, if you click over to Reading List, which is right next to the assigned books, down at the bottom of the page, it's going to show you all the reading lists that he has been assigned to. Reading lists are wonderful for assigning a ton of books to a student. So we've got Lexile collections, accelerated reader collections, award collections, the bestsellers, and these are really great for if you want your students to have more ability to select their own books, but maybe you don't want to give them full access to the library because we have 800,000 books. And so depending on some of your students, some of these books just might not be appropriate for them. We do try to age restrict anything that is very pornographic. The kids under 18 are not able to get it, but there might be some content that you as a teacher might, or a parent might not find to be appropriate for a 5-year-old. So series are really great ways to give students like the beginning access of choosing their own books. So I'm going to click into the Goosebumps series reading list. And it's going to show me all 155 Goosebump books, and the student can go ahead and select which one they want to read. So he wants to read Say Cheese and Die, and so he can go ahead and he has access and he can read it right there. Now there's a few other questions in the chat. Oops, sorry. All right. And so if they're not a student of some kind, they will have to pay $50 a year. And so that is our annual membership fee. You can always contact our customer support if you are having difficulty paying that, because occasionally we do have some grants available. Now, teachers can also create their own reading list. So if teachers are using a curriculum at school and they want their kids to have access to it, they have the option to create a reading list. Students also have the option to create a reading list, so they can make their own list of all the books that they want and add them to it, so they have easy access to it.
Wonderful, 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 wonderful.
One more thing I'm going to show you guys for the teachers is that you can actually export what your students have been doing on Bookshare. So I'm going to go into my Matthew Mosh. No, I'll go into Fake Student because I think I've downloaded a little bit more for him. And so when you click into your student, you click in by their last name. You go first, you start from members on that left-hand side of the page. You click into your student via the last name. And then there are columns that say assigned books, downloaded books, and reading lists. In that downloaded books area, there is the ability to export a CSV. And this will show you all of the books that they have accessed and in what formats they've accessed and on what days they've accessed. So this is really good data for IUP and 504 meetings in case you want to show that your students are actually using these reading accommodations. Very, very helpful. All right.
Awesome. Well, thank you tremendously, Emily. We appreciate your time. It's fantastic, and we're so glad you were able to join us. And generally what we'll do is we will unlock things to give everyone the opportunity to ask some questions. We'll do that now, and I will say, please, 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 please keep the questions relevant to Bookshare or to Bookshare on the VictorReader stream /Trek. It's very, very important. We really appreciate Emily's time and Bookshare's time, so we want to make sure that everything is relevant to what we covered today. I know there's lots and lots of topics and things that people want to talk about based on what we've done in the past, but Andrew, were there any questions, anything popping up chat-wise before we go to hand raising that we didn't get to? I saw a great one on using the VictorReader. So when you're in a text field, being able to identify what is going on with the keys when you're pushing them. So if you're in a text field and you hit that sleep timer key, you're able to hear what each key press does. So you'll put yourself in key describer mode, or you can press the number 2 and it might say A, B, C, 2, and so on. So that was a great point that somebody brought up on the chat. Anything else out there, Andy?
Oh yeah, to further that, I've also sent out a link where you can get further details on which letter is on each, on which key as well. So that would be directly to our website. So if you're unsure of where the full stop is or the @ sign, then visit that site, of course.
Beautiful.
But other than that, I think most questions have been answered. So great stuff, and thank you very much, Emily. Let's go to some of the live audience here. Let's go to Amelia.
Amelia, welcome to the club.
Hi, can you hear?
Hi, Amelia.
We certainly can.
Hello?
Yep, you're
there
good.
You go.
I just wanted to you guys were talking about how to navigate on by chapter. I also wanted to say that on the Braille Note Touch Plus, you can do backspace with B if you don't want to hear all the copyright stuff, and it will give you the chapters or sections, and you can click on whichever section you want
Absolutely.
to go to.
You are correct. And we covered that on, I believe, episode 3 or 4. We talked about the book navigation menu. So that is in, I think, if you look back at the HumanWare Live episodes, backspace with B in the Touch Plus is absolutely going to get you into book navigation. Thanks, Amelia.
You're welcome.
All right.
Okay, next one we have is Fred Rea. Hello, Fred. Fred Rea.
Fred, you are on with Emily, myself, and Andrew.
Are you there, Fred? Just unmute yourself. I'm just forcing you to unmute.
2, 1. Wah, 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 wah. Fred, next time, my friend.
Okay, next one then is we have Cheryl. Hello, Cheryl. I'm not going to attempt the surname here.
Cheryl, you are on. And remember, everybody, if you're using a PC, Alt-A will unmute you. When you're in the Zoom window, Command-A on the Mac. You will have an unmute button on the Braille Note Touch Plus. You will have unmute on the iPhone. 2,
Are you there?
1. Sorry, Cheryl. Next time, keep them moving.
Okay, I think we have Fred back. Hello, Fred.
Hi there.
There you go, Fred. How are you?
Just great, thank you.
Wonderful.
I have a
How can we
question
help, Fred?
about the SD card. Can we transfer books onto the SD card from the hard drive in the Victor stream?
Yes. So if you listen, when you find a book, and I demonstrated it briefly, but you would press the number 3 on the book, and you can move it from internal memory to your SD card. Yes.
Okay.
And you would press confirm, and it would move that book to your SD card.
Okay, I just get the removal signal. Maybe I wasn't pressing it a second time.
Press 3 a second time, you should have that option. So the first time is delete. The second time would be move from internal to SD card if you have one in. You should be able to move that.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thanks, Fred. Thank you. Thanks for
Fred.
being here.
Thank you.
All right.
Okay, let's go down the list, and we next have Ben. Hello, Ben.
Ben, you are on the
Hello.
board. There you go.
Hi,
How's
Ben.
it going?
Hey, how are you?
Wonderful.
Say, I do have a question for Emily,
Sure.
and that is because I am a proud Android user, and I, did have an individual Bookshare membership for a while, and we could use Go Read for the Android version of the app. And can you still use Go Read, or is it or has the Easy Reader partnership taken over for both Android and iOS?
You know what? We really highly recommend Dolphin Easy Reader, just because there has been less and less updates on Go Read and Read to Go. So I would highly recommend that. There are a ton of different options for Android, the Android platform itself, and you can find out about all of them if you go into our Help Center, into our Learning Center. There's also a nice tool, a Reading Wizard tool that you can use that will guide you to all the right products based off of the platforms that you are using. So I would definitely go in there, check it out, but Dolphin Easy Reader is what we're recommending. It's free, but we're also compatible with a lot of different other devices. So and if you have any more questions, feel free to reach out to me or reach out to our customer support, who can definitely walk you through all of the options.
Yes,
Right,
Emily
Emily,
floated
so
her
much.
email up in the chat as well, so it is in there. Thanks a ton, Ben.
You bet, absolutely.
All right.
Thanks,
Couple
Ben.
more.
Okay.
Let's do them.
Okay, let's fire through. So we next have Viewless Network. Viewless Network? What a name. Okay,
Viewless
you're now...
Network, you are on.
Hello.
Yes, thank you. Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, we can.
So I've got a question regarding price. It's for Emily. It's for Bookshare. Is there do you do like free trials so that people can have like a taster of what it's like? Is there a free trial?
Well, actually, if you want to get a sample of what Bookshare is like, but you don't want to commit yet to a membership, one of the things that you will have access to are all the books that we have in our public domain. So we have, I believe, over 10,000 books that are in the public domain. So these would be classics like The Great Gatsby, and, you know, Huck Finn, those types of books. So if you want to get a good feel of what Bookshare is like, what the text-to-speech voices are like, that is what I would recommend. But also with your access, it looks like you might also want to be contacting RNAB because they are one of our sister libraries in the UK, and they have other options for you.
Yes, and definitely, I definitely went through my share of demonstrations with Moby Dick, so you can certainly get a lot of public domain books. Thanks a lot.
No problem.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, let's keep them going. We'll do one or two more if that's all right with you,
Okay.
Emily, unless you have to
That's
run.
fine. No.
All right.
Okay. So we then have Vif Qatar. Vif Qatar. Hello, Vif Qatar. Well, we're going to do the countdown again.
3, as we say in Chicago. 2, 1. All right, next time, Iftar. I just came through on the chat in terms of how we can read the email address on Windows. If you tab over to the chat panel, you can open that, and Emily's email address is in there. Do you want to say it quickly, Emily, for those who can't?
Yeah. My email address is emilyn@bookshare.org. So that's EMILYN@bookshare.org.
Lovely. And Iftar, I think you were in, my friend. How are you?
Let me just unmute
Hi,
again.
how are you?
Hi, Vic.
We're
There we
wonderful. Go ahead. Sorry about that. We didn't have you. You almost missed it, but we got you.
I can ask 2 questions, please.
Sure.
Okay, first question about Bookshare. I will speak about myself. I have an organization in Qatar, and my organization is VIF Qatar, and we want to give account for our members, okay? But we speak with the Bookshare support. They tell us you can't take the accounts from QNL. And we go to the QNL in Qatar, and nobody help us, and nobody help us from MADA Assistive Technology. Also, there is a center here in Qatar. No help us from for making account for our people, and we need it. If it says by payment, we will pay. If it's free, we will make it free. No problem. Anything I want to do it for our people, because I will tell you, we have a member from countries which don't have main library. Like I will tell you, like Iraq, okay? Don't have a national library for helping people. We want to help people inside Iraq. We want to help people inside Egypt, like this. For that, I want give a special members account for people. For that, if Bookshare can help me for this case or not. This is my first question.
So I believe that we will be able to help. What I'm going to do is I hope that you email me after this session. I can put you in contact with our Bookshare International. I think one of the issues that we'll probably run into is verifying the proof of disability. But please go ahead and reach out, because we really do want to have help you guys get access. We do have a ton of books in Arabic. You know, we have a ton of books in a ton of different languages. So we're all about expanding. So just please reach out and we will make sure that you guys are able to create accounts.
Fantastic.
Okay.
And you had one other question?
Okay. Second question about Daisy Book. I noticed on the device about Daisy Book on the Bookshare, on the other services, all services in the Daisy Book, you must take account and put the account and use it. On the Middle East, okay, no have any supplier have accounts for Daisy Book. And I want to know why HumanWare don't have a special source for the VictorReader to give a Daisy Book or little from the Daisy Box. We can find it as a default on the device. I mean, why we cannot take a source from a HumanWare and this source immediately download a Daisy Book from it?
I guess I'm unsure exactly of the. I think that might be something you'll definitely want to email Andrew and I about, because I don't know exactly what you're referring to or what you might be asking. I'm sorry. I don't. Are you saying you know? I think we should take this
I'm saying
offline.
why not there is a special source we can take it from VictorReader, from HumanWare, okay, and it's coming by default on the VictorReader, and we can download it from it. Why we must take account from Daisy Book, from special service in America
okay. So
or UK
yes,
or anything.
we don't have our own libraries. This is definitely something we'll take offline. I mean, it's not really super relevant to here. It would have to do with, we do not have our own library. No, not at this time. Certainly not. It would have to go through each individual country and individual organizations and services. So HumanWare we don't have any sort of publishing company or any sort of way of hosting books, as we're a for-profit manufacturer. So that isn't something we're at this point in time that we're able to offer, due to us not being really a publisher. But definitely, please email us, and we can definitely put it in the hopper in terms of something that might be helpful to to someone like yourself or somebody who's in countries where there are not those sorts of libraries. Maybe absolutely.
Last point. If you can download podcast from the VictorReader, why you cannot upload the podcast?
You cannot upload because there's no tool for that. If you need to upload podcasts, you're going to want to do that through various services. We don't have our own podcast generator.
What suggestion of the services you suggest?
You would have to go to Apple or anywhere, right, where you're going to get podcasts sent to. You need to we're simply a catcher. We have a podcast catcher. We do not have any sort of upload service. So you would need to submit your podcast to Apple or to somewhere, and it would go through, and then it could be downloaded. But we don't have any sort of way to upload any user content on our own channels. But thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right, one more, and then we're gonna.
Okay, we have Nancy. Hello, Nancy.
Nancy, welcome.
Okay, my question is, some of my students, they don't really understand the different format. So is there possible that you can have another episode to explain the difference between when you download it from Daisy or Dolphin, or because one of the selection from the Bookshare is audio. So what's the difference?
So it's a great question. I mean, formats, we can certainly talk about formats. Essentially what the format will determine is what you use to play that particular book. If you're downloading a book as Daisy, you're going to use a Daisy player of some sort to play it. If you're downloading it as audio, it's simply an MP3 recording of that that synthetic voice, and you would use an MP3 or an audio player to play that. If you're downloading it as a Word file, you would use Microsoft Word or something that can read those sorts of formats. So all the format does is it provides a way to say, this is the type of player I am using, or method that I'm using to access a file, much like if somebody emails you a PowerPoint, you're going to need to open that in the PowerPoint program. If somebody emails you a BRF file or a Braille file, you need to use a program that can open BRFs. So the format, it's just going to be a choice for the consumer or the user to be able to choose which player they're most comfortable with working with. Essentially, that's all that means. So your users will just have to understand what are they using to read the book. And nothing is set in stone. There might be 7 or 8 ways to access a Microsoft Word file, right? You might have a Braille note taker. You could probably do it from the Word app on your phone. You might use Microsoft Word on a PC. You might have Office 365, and that, it's just going to be a workflow issue. So the format choice is just determined by what it is that you're going to use to access the book. But it's a great question. We certainly focus on DAISY and EPUB, Nancy, because they're the most navigable for us as Braille and kind of audio users. It's very quick and easy to move to chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. That's what we love about DAISY. That's the whole point of DAISY when it was kind of created with the DAISY consortium. And that doesn't mean that BRF or audio are not valid formats, but I think we tend to focus on them because they're so nice and clear and clean and easy to navigate, as well as the fact that the print page will line up with what the peers might be reading in the classroom. But that doesn't mean that a BRF version is wrong, because Bookshare does allow you to emboss books, and things like that. So you might want to take it in Braille and just read it in Braille. But many options, and we can certainly talk about ways to access various file formats. I know we've covered Word files. We've covered DAISY here on HumanWare Live. We've covered BRF with math to an extent. So we've covered the various ways you can open many audio formats, and we can continue to do so. So thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, everybody. We are going to call it a day. Thank you, Emily, tremendously for your time. It's much appreciated. Oh, we're thrilled. We might have to do this again sometime. We'll have we'll have you come on and show some cool organizational side things. It was very helpful for us to have access to looking at what that's like from the teacher side. So thank you. If anybody has suggestions for future content, remember, please send those to humanwarelive@humanware.com. And we will look forward to seeing everybody next week. We will have a special guest, so the registration information will be available in our newsletter. If you need to subscribe to that, you can go to our website. There is a subscribe link at the bottom of the page. You can click it and subscribe to the HumanWare newsletter to find the registration info. It will be sent via email. We'll also be on our Facebook page. We'll also, we'll go out on social media. You will have to register for next Thursday, May 7th, for the webinar in order to win a prize. Anything on that, Andrew?
Well, there's a lot of prizes up for grabs. So yeah, just to reiterate that you need to register to actually enter into the prize draw, and you need to attend the webinar. Yes. And one of the top prize is a brand new VictorReader stream. In fact, I've been told it may even be 1 stream per week, but who knows? We'll find out.
We're going to have to work all that out, and we will be back Tuesday before then. So please, we can provide the link on Tuesday as well to register live in the chat, or get that out to you. So we will have another episode. We'll see you on Tuesday at noon Eastern. And thanks again. Thanks a lot, Emily, and rock and roll.
Thanks, everyone, and thanks, Emily. Take care, everyone.
Take care. Bye.
See ya.